Alright, so I found a lot of tutorials for bringing Eden and Zeus together, but a lot of the information is pretty dated now and it's kind of all spread all over the place. So I'm making this tutorial simply to bring all these little, mission making tips and little bits of code here and there and stuff like how to get some basic camera stuff done, creating a player group, what's the best way to implement Zeus into your group, creating like a first starting task, and some journal entries and patrols. So, just like the baseline you need to get a Zeus and mission created in Eden. So we're going to start with the Eden editor. I'm just going to use Stratus for this little example here, just because it'll load quickly. Alright, so real quick, camera controls, WASD will move you around. Q and Z, like a helicopter, are going to move you up and down. Shift is going to increase your speed quite a bit. That's just going to get you moving. We're going to press M for map. I'm just going to go to Camp Rogaine. If you saw right there, I teleported my camera with scroll click. This is very useful. You can use this in both Eden and Zeus. Okay, so to get things started, we're going to create our players. We can either go to our pre-builts here and choose like a squad. So, we can choose this like a rifle team or something and have them be our players. Or you can make your teams from scratch. I prefer to make my teams from scratch personally. So I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to use the NATO dudes. Let's grab a team leader. To rotate your guys real quick, I'm just doing it to be fancy. Shift, and you can kind of see the arrow. So we got our team leader. I like to also include a medic right away. Looking for... man, I must be blind. Combat Lifesaver, that's right. You can see that little line. If I have him like this, he's going to attach to the squad. And he's going to be part of that squad, which is what I want. If I didn't want him to attach to the squad, like in the case of, I'm going to choose an engineer next, I could just have him be a little further down the line, and you can see he's been separated from the others. Say later on I want to actually attach him to the squad. While he's selected, I can hold control and see how that little symbol changes. I can move this over to attach it to the team leader. And boom, now they're all in the same squad. And then I'm just going to add like rifleman real quick. Just making things pretty. Alright, so we have one guy right now. Our red dude, he is the player. So if you're to play single player or in multiplayer, he would be the only option because he's the only playable one. Just box select everybody, right click somebody, go to attributes. We want them all to be playable at least. So these are going to be like when you load into a multiplayer server, you're going to see, oh, I can choose team leader, combat lifesaver, engineer, rifleman. Alright, let's give them some gear to kind of prove something we're going to do later on. So edit loadout. It's going to take you to the arsenal. If you don't play around in the arsenal, I recommend doing it. I'm just going to use one I created earlier to save some time. This is just a PMC team leader. Go ahead and change this guy's loadout to. Choose paramedic. Engineer. I should have an engineer also made. Again, you can spend all the time creating all this stuff. I'm just trying to speed along here. We can also do multiple dudes at once. See how I control clicked him? Most PC shortcuts are going to work. Edit loadout. We'll load just a regular contractor for these dudes. And boom. These guys are going to have this loadout now. So before we move on to respawning and vehicles and all that kind of stuff, if I launch right now in single player, everybody's going to have this gear, and we're going to be so happy. So, oh, look at that. Everyone has their gear. Cool. Nobody's wearing the default NATO camo. I chose these uniforms because they're very obviously different than the stock NATO uniform. But if we go to our multiplayer stuff, let's change this to Zeus real quick. Min players, you don't actually have to change this. I'm just doing this real quick. Respawn. We're going to respawn on custom position. We do not want to show the respawn counter. We don't care. Actually, we'll show it. We want respawn position. We want to be able to choose where we're spawning. It's going to be pretty important. And you can set the timer here to like 5 seconds. click away and you'll see that right there. Revive system. I prefer just to let everybody revive each other. You don't need to be a medic, but you should probably have like a first aid kit or something. It's all up to personal preference. I like 15 seconds for everyone else, but the medic, I like to, you know, really give them their fair share. Make it so it's only 5 seconds for them. And I'll leave it on basic, which means whenever you die, you just go down, versus advanced. Like if you get shot in the face, you'll just die in advance, and that's no fun. Alright, so what we came here is just for the respawn stuff. So respawn custom position, we want you to be able to select your position, not your loadout, just your position. And we're going to go ahead and press OK to that one. If it lets me, there we go. And now this time we want to play in multiplayer. I'm just going to accept the basic stuff right here. It's just a LAN server, just to test things. I'll choose the team leader. Now something's going to happen. Actually, it won't even let me spawn because I didn't even make a spawn position, so that was dumb. Alright, so we need to make a spawn position. So we're going to go to, I believe it's multiplayer, respawn position. These guys are going to be blue 4. I like to hide all this other stuff from everybody, and we're going to call this Camp Rogaine. Let's go ahead and save our mission, actually. Let's save as. And this respawn position should be working now. There we go. Camp Rogaine. I did that pretty quick because I'm going to focus more on the respawns later.
0
look at,
5
okay, so
9.
these dudes, they have the right gear, right? But look at me. I'm in that default NATO crap we saw when we spawned the unit. I'm not in the custom loadout I created for the team leader. My team leader had a P90 versus I have this MX. So we're going to need to fix that in a second here. A side benefit, so see there's that P90 right there. A side benefit of what we're going to do is going to make it so as players are playing and say they're picking up new guns, like I have a lot of people in my group that like they grab a rocket launcher, they grab a certain sniper rifle that didn't come with their character, and then they die and they have to go back to their old body to loot that sniper rifle back. And that's kind of a nuisance. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a quick little script we can add that's going to help our players keep all their gear. So you're going to need to go to your Explorer window, and you're going to go to your PC, your documents, Arma 3 other profiles, whatever your Arma 3's name is. Go to your missions folder, and whatever is your current live folder. We're going to create two, I'm just going to make RTFs. They could be honestly whatever because we're going to change the extension on them. We're going to create two SQFs here. The first one's going to be onPlayerKilled.sqf. Yep, we want to change that for sure. Then we're going to create another one real quick. onPlayerRespawn. Change extension .sqf. Okay, so I'm going to open up onPlayerKilled first. Make sure I'm recording the right window now. Alright, so we're on onPlayerKilled. So we want, when a player dies, we want to save their inventory. That's just like a little note to ourselves what this is going to do. So we're going to do player setVariable. If I could spell. We're going to do a bracket. We're going to just call it save loadout. getUnitLoadout. Of the player. Let me just double check my notes. Typing, reading, and talking are not my strongest skills all at once. Player, setVariable, save loadout, comma, getUnitLoadout, player. Perfect. Alright. So we're going to open up the other one now that was labeled onPlayerRespawn. Let's actually go back and save. So onPlayerRespawn, get rid of that garbage. Now when a player spawns, we want to retrieve their gear. Return their gear. So like any magazines they've used up, they're not going to get back. But any guns that they've kept or stolen, they're going to respawn with those and their scopes and all that kind of stuff. This is the way we prefer to play. If your play group wants to do whatever, it's up to them. So this is on player respawn. So player set unit loadout. It's going to be player get variable. Saved loadout. Another set of brackets, and your original bracket, and parentheses, and then end the line. Make sure they're both saved. Okay, we're going to go back into Arma now. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and launch in a multiplayer. We got an error. Probably just a typo.
Report position.
Grid 050059er.
Gonna tab out real quick and see what that typo was. Go back here. So on player killed, we have player set variable saved loadout get unit loadout loadout. Stupid. Watch your spelling. See if I did it over here too. Nope. That should fix it now. So save, go back to Arma. Alright, let's try now. We didn't get that error, so that was probably it.
Grid
Boom, look at that. I got my P90. I have the correct uniform.
Waiting.
Give it a little bit of testing. Empty some of our inventory. I don't know, dump a bunch of these mags. I don't know, I'm gonna save this backpack. So now, I have a different inventory than when I was alive last. If you look in the very top right, I have 23 rounds in this current gun and 1 magazine left. I'm going to respawn, and I'm going to have that exact same gear.
Grid 050059er. Waiting.
Backpack that I didn't have before when I spawned. I guarantee you guys, I've tested it a billion times, if I did not have those 2 little lines of code, I would respawn as a generic NATO soldier over and over and over and over again versus this loadout. Oh, but look at this dude. He respawned wrong. That's probably because he's an AI, not a player. Because I set it only to saved players loadout, so when he respawned, he just got a his default combat lifesaver loadout. That's funny. I didn't see that when I tested this earlier. Alright, so let's go over what we've gone so far. Done a little bit of camera controls. We created our squad and gave them a unique loadout. When they spawn in, they should have the loadout we created. When they die, that code that we added is going to save that loadout. When they respawn, they're going to load that save loadout reserved for them. Let's go over the respawn system. I went over this really quickly. We're going to do it one more time, this time as Green 4. Because I want these guys, they're like PMCs. They're a private military corporation. They should really be Green 4. So to change, see how they're all blue right now? Blue 4. We want them to be independent. What you can do is box select, and boom, look at that. They went from green, or they went from blue to green now. We just delete this guy. We just used him. Oh man, their squad composition's all jacked now. We're going to just box select them and have them degroup. So nobody's in a group anymore. And we're going to have them all rejoin the team later. So Combat Lifesaver is going to rejoin. I'm kind of crazy about the order. I like to have them in a certain order. Boom. Everybody has now rejoined this squad. And they're green 4. Perfect opportunity to do another respawn. So you're going to go to Systems, Modules, Respawn Position. I'm just going to put it in here. We're not going to name the variables. We're going to name this for our players. This is what your player's going to read. Camp Rogaine, PMCHQ. Because these guys are PMCs. Type Infantry, leading side, change to Independent. Because these are green 4 guys. If they're a CSAT, they'd be out 4. The NATO guys were blue 4 before. So this is what we just changed. I like to hide all this stuff, just because I don't want it to show up on the maps. Right, let's go ahead and save. And let's test that respawn point to make sure it works for our green 4. Or independent. I say green 4 a lot, but they're the same thing. Camp Rogaine PMCHQ. Look at that, perfect.
Grid 0,
what do you know?
5,
We still spawn
0,
with our stuff,
0,
but now
5,
on the map
9er.
we are
Waiting.
green 4 units, which is what we wanted. So what I've shown you in these extra steps is how to flip unit structures. So like I could have these NATO guys, they became green 4 and I changed their clothes and everything. One more thing to show you that when it comes to sides, you know, green 4 versus blue 4 versus red 4, if you go to General, this is how you change who green 4 is allied to. So I can make it so as PMCs we're hostile to everybody, or we can only be hostile to red 4, or we could be friends with everybody. I wouldn't do this though. So we're just going to stay friends with blue 4 right now, and red 4 is going to be our enemy during the mission. This is also where you could like name your mission and do all that fancy kind of polishing. We're not going to worry about that right now. I'm just trying to get us through a lot of the crunch of a lot of mechanics that we're going to add. So look at this. Basic respawn. That's neat and all, but we want to do something cooler than that. You could learn this in any tutorial. I'm going to show you how to respawn off of a vehicle. You can do this live during Zeus. You can make like a bus or something and have your units all jump out of the bus. Your teammates and stuff. But it's something that's really easy to forget when you first start a Zeus mission. Like, oh, I didn't make a respawn. Like, this car is supposed to be a respawn point. So I like to go ahead and just throw like little line here and there to set it up. So we're going to choose a civilian vehicle real quick. Let's grab an SUV or a truck. No, that truck, that's ugly. Okay. Grab an off-road. While we're looking at vehicles, there's some things really quick. You can make your vehicle look a certain way. So I'm going to make this look very unsafe. I'm just going to pull the doors off. And I'm going to... Where's the left door? There it is. And I'm going to change it to this blue color. So that's how you edit the appearance of some vehicles. Not everyone can do this. Just change the paint. I'm going to go to Attributes now. You're going to do a lot of going into this menu. This menu is going to do so much work. We're going to put our little line in here. So variable name is a lot different than role description. So variable name, we're going to call this respawn. Oops, my mouse is over it. Respawn truck. And now we're going to initialize a little bit of lines for this. So the key is going to be faction. So because these guys are blue 4 or independent, it's going to be independent. Because we want this to be an independent respawn. Whatever we named it, respawn truck. We need to call a function. So we're going to call the BIS function add respawn position. Again, watch your spelling, and then make sure you always end it. And hit OK. Oops. One thing real quick. So we have a dude inside this car. If you want to spawn a vehicle without people, make sure you uncheck that box. And now you'll see how this is a yellow outline versus this has the faction-specific purple outline. We're just going to delete the person. You can click either the person themselves and the driver, or you could go over to the sides here and just delete. So now it's unowned, which is all we wanted. We want an unknown truck that our PMCs can use. Totally didn't even spot that dude in there. Our code's all fine. Let's go and test now. And now what we've done is we've created 2 spawn points. We can either spawn inside the base, or we can spawn right inside that truck. So you can have this, I don't know if anybody else has ever played Planet Side. You can have like a mobile respawn point where you drag the truck around, and everybody can hop inside, and you can park it behind a building, keep it safe. In my opinion, it's better to trust the players, or to give the responsibility to them to have their own respawn, versus as a Zeus, just dumping respawn positions all over the place. It's kind of messy. Versus this means a player's like, oh, we have this truck. It's important for us to keep it alive. We'll always keep it behind the building, but always keep it close enough. And if the players ever complain to Zeus, oh, respawn's too far, well, it's their fault. They can move the truck closer, right? Or they can not. Alright, let's add a helicopter, and we're going to do the exact same thing to it, just to prove. Let's add the armed one to kind of show something off here. So we're going to copy and paste here. Just copy, paste. Of course, we don't want this to be a respawn truck. We want this to be a respawn helo. And we're going to name this respawn helo. So again, we just want these names to match. And I guarantee this helicopter is also going to work for us now. Unfortunately, I notice when it does this, it tends to spawn you inside like the pilot or driver seat.
Grid 050 059er.
So now, boom, we
Ready
have
for
our 3
orders.
respawn points. We have the truck, we have this helicopter. Alright. So, we are gonna also mess with the helicopter a tiny bit, because it doesn't make a lot of sense for these PMCs to have this, like, really heavily armed helicopter. I could have chose the unarmed one, but I was doing this on purpose, because I wanted to show off the pylon system. If you've played a lot of Arma, or read a little bit about it, you've probably heard about dynamic loadouts. Real quick, while we're here, let's, change that paint. Paint's not very appropriate for PMCs. This Orca is pretty sweet, though, when it's got this Orca paint scheme. So, let's show you the pylons. We're going to go to Attributes and Pylon Settings. Here you can choose what armament the helicopter can have. Give them certain types of missiles, cannons, etc., etc. For this case, I'm just going to have it stay empty. Again, I only chose this helicopter because I wanted to show the pylons, just that you could change the missiles and guns and everything in it. But in this specific example, I'm just going to leave it empty. One more thing is these guys are green 4. So let's say I want to give them some sort of drone. This is the last vehicle thing. So if I need a drone for them to use, it needs to be a green 4 independent drone later on. I can't use a blue 4 drone for them anymore because they're faction aligned. So let's just grab an AAF drone. Oops, it's a plane. Let's grab this. So when I place this down, it's yellow because it's an empty asset right now. When you're placing drones in the mission, you actually want to place them with crew, believe it or not. They're they're kind of weird. This is going to show that they're active. So see how he has a green background now, and now he's in the independent section instead of before when I place it down and it was yellow and I said it was empty. So you want them to be quote-unquote manned. These guys are green 4, so we're going to need a UAV terminal for them real quick. UAV. This is just the props objects. UAV terminal. We're just going to put it on the ground. Let's test it out real quick. I could probably stop doing this in multiplayer and just keep testing in single player to be quicker than joining my server back and forth.
Grid 050
So right now there's the drone.
059er.
If I
Standing
gave
by.
this team down here a UAV terminal, later on they got it as a reward, since it's manned, they can now take control of it. The important things here, the takeaways, are that needs to be a green 4, or at least the same faction as these dudes are, that I plan on giving it to. And they need to also have a green 4 UAV terminal. So in this case, an AAF UAV terminal works. So make sure the terminal matches. if you want to use drones to the same faction as the players and the drone. So green for drone, green for terminal, green for players. And then also make sure your drone is manned. Real quick thing about drones also, you don't really want to start them on the ground. That'd be kind of annoying. So we can just go to position, set this guy to 1,000 meters in the air. Oops, that's rotation. Set this guy to 1,000 meters in the air, and boom. He'll start the mission up there kind of buzzing over, and later on you can either give them this terminal right away or drop it in as a reward. I'm going to leave it there for now. Alright, so we've created our squad, we've created our 3 respawns, we've given these guys a custom loadout, and they spawn in and out with the loadout correctly. With the vehicles, we changed their appearance, we added pylons, I talked about drones real quick for Zeus and Eden. I think we are ready to move on to Zeus itself now, to set up our Zeus. I'm just looking at my notes real quick. Yeah, let's move on to Zeus. Okay, so what a lot of players like to do with their Zeus is, okay, so these guys are green 4, they'll choose like some sort of officer, right? Oops, let's have him not in the squad. They'll choose some sort of officer. They'll set him as playable. You can name him so he's in the lobby as Zeus. Zeus. One hint that tells you that it's playable is the colors. So red is player, purple is playable, versus just an AI is going to be white. This can never like be a player ever. I'm tired of these guys respawning all the time, so I'm going to turn them off actually. This is a good little idea for when you plan to go live and you don't want AI joining your dudes. You just want, players playing them. Just going to turn them off so they don't spawn anymore. So we have our quote-unquote empty Zeus. We haven't actually done anything. We've just named him. Let's actually add the Zeus module to the game. We're going to go over to Modules in our Systems tab. We're going to add the Game Master. The Game Master needs to be owned by somebody. We're going to set ourselves as the owner, which is going to be admin logged. If you go over here to tell you, you can be like admin logged or admin voted. We're going to choose admin logged. So now when we, as a server creator, join our own game, we're going to have access to Zeus. We could actually be in this slot if we wanted to. It doesn't matter what slot we're in. We just name the other one. We got to spawn in. Now that we spawned in, if we press the Y key, boom, we have access to Zeus. Cool. Perfect. And the other guys didn't spawn in too. We successfully turned them off. Now, one thing you might have noticed is we are green 4 on the green 4 side. I personally don't like to be a real, aligned person when I Zeus. I like to do something called virtual entity Zeus, which I'm going to go over in a second. The main reason is I like to use a lot of mines in my mission. When you drop a mine down as a Zeus, let's go over to units, empty, we'll just choose some mines. And let's leave the Zeus interface. All of the people on your side are going to be able to see your mines. So if we're green 4 Zeus and we drop green 4 mines, our green 4, players are going to see the mines. They're going to, from a mile away, they're going to be like, what the hell is this? Of course, everyone can see them on the map, but this is a little different. I like to make, things a little more interesting. Players have to find stuff like that. So we're going to create a virtual entity Zeus so we don't share information that we are currently doing. Like, it's really dumb, actually, to be like, oh, here's a surprise minefield, and they can see every single mine's position. So we're going to delete this officer, and we're going to go straight into virtual entities. So we're going to go to logic entity, virtual entity, Zeus. I was just showing you the officer way because I know a lot of people really like to use that. We're going to right-click the Zeus. We're going to sync to our Game Master. We're going to name our Game Master ZCurator. So, and we're going to make this now a playable slot. So, we have a playable spot, but we need to have a respawn. This is where things get a little weird with the virtual Zeus. We're going to go to our multiplayer respawn position. We're going to set this to host respawn. You can name this whatever you want. This is so you can read. Infantry, this is going to be civilian. Even though we've created a virtual player who isn't even, doesn't have a real character in the game, this is going to be a civilian for the purpose of the way Arma is going to work. Disable this crap. This is the most important step, though. For this virtual Zeus to be able to see and do anything, they need to be able to spawn on what is called respawn_logic. The L is capitalized. Logic. So this is going to allow our Zeus to respawn. Because we're not green 4. We can't use this green 4 or any of these green 4 spawns. We're going to use our own special respawn that we just made. And look at that now. Virtual slots. Zeus. Boom. So we're no messiness with the green 4 sharing information stuff anymore. Look at that. Host respawn. The one we renamed. I renamed it purposely different than the other one so you guys could see. And we are technically an invisible rabbit that can be killed. So try not to call artillery on yourself. Honestly, you can just throw yourself in like a corner and spend almost all your time in the Zeus stuff. The Zeus interface. A lot of players like to roleplay and be like, oh, I'm an officer and I'll be briefing the team. You can still do that as a virtual Zeus. We can just drop a dude. Come back here. And just take remote control. And you can still kind of pretend to be this officer for our players for a couple of minutes. And then when we're done pretending to be our officer, we can just go back to being a normal Zeus. So that's no excuse for, sharing all your information across sites. Virtual entity is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. One more thing, actually. So look at this. We can see this officer. We can pick him up. We can drop him in the air. We can do the same thing with these cars.
Standing by.
Look at that car. See how it has like this little circle around it and it's in our little sidebar? Notice we can't mess with the Orca, nor can we mess with this truck. That's kind of odd, right? We place these items in Zeus, in Eden, but we don't see them in our Zeus interface. We can't order, this truck around if there's a person inside of it. And we can't interact with it at all. For example, like this truck, we could have pair drop down by raising the height a bunch of times. You can hold Alt, by the way, to raise height. And drag your mouse. But we can't interact with this truck at all. We need to be able to interact with certain objects. Not every object, but definitely a lot of the vehicles and a lot of like sentries and stuff like that. So we're going to add ourselves another module here. Let's add some crap that we don't want to add first. So we're just going to... That makes no sense, but it'll make sense in a second. Structure Altus, military, scrap some tents. I'm really just choosing random crap right now. Let's add another cargo container, just in the middle of, yeah, that's a good spot, I guess. And a big old tower. Can we get a tower? Here we go. Now, of course, this isn't the prettiest. This is just for, explanation's sake. When we're in Zeus, we want to be able to see these trucks and our players in that little sidebar. When we're in Eden, we see everything. So we're going to add editable objects. We're going to right-click this. We're going to sync it to our Zeus here, our Game Master module, not our virtual entity. And then all the objects we want to actually interact with later on in Zeus, let's assign to zCurator, which is the name of our Zeus, right? Variable name, zCurator. We want to add zCurator items. So we're going to choose all of our wannabe players later on, right? So we're going to right-click. You can either right-click here to sync to, or you can click on the individual person, like that little circle under them, sync to editable objects. We'll choose the drone. We can't click on him, so we'll just right-click here, sync. We got a line there, and we want these two vehicles here. What I did here is control clicking to add them both. Sync to editable objects. I could have like control A and selected everything and added it, but you don't always want everything. Actually, like I don't really care about controlling this cargo tower when I'm Zeusing, nor do I care about this, random tent and stuff. That's added clutter. You're going to have a lot of clutter that you're going to throw down in Eden, but you don't care about on Zeus. This respawn position, I might want to delete this later on. Like say I move the story on and the players, go to another forward operating base. I might want to delete this. So, I'm going to go ahead and sync it. I'm going to save. I'm going to go in as Zeus. And now look at that. We have those circles that says we can interact with these vehicles now, but we don't interact with this other crap we don't care about. And any players that were here, we'd also have circles for them, and they'd be in our little side information bar. In fact, there's the drone. It's up in the sky right now. Like, say we wanted to take remote control of the drone. We couldn't do that before without adding it. Here's that respawn position. Say, our players have moved on to another base. Delete it. It's gone now, right? We couldn't do that before because we couldn't see anything from Eden. But now we can. I've covered a lot of the Zeus stuff now. So what we've gone over together is adding the actual game master for Zeus in the modules section, creating admin logged for them, so only whoever's hosting, usually us, can do it. We've named them Z Curator, so we can have the virtual Zeus and the editable objects synced to it. We've explained why we chose to do a virtual Zeus, because of stuff like mines, typically. We've created a respawn position and renamed the variable name respawn logic. And then everything that we want to see in Zeus, we've synced to the add editable objects. I typically only do this at the end of creating a mission, because as you're creating the mission, you don't want to see these blue lines shooting off everywhere. It's typically one of the last steps I do, is create the add editable objects and then sync them all in. Alright, so now we're going to move on to patrols, it looks like. So to create a patrol, let's say we just wanted to have some dudes walking outside, right? We'll just grab a sentry team. And we want these guys to act very natural and kind of walk down the road and then walk back. So we're going to go into their attributes. So there's two different attributes here I should have explained earlier. You have the squad attributes, which is by selecting this little green floating square. That's the whole team. Or you could double click the square here. Or you could choose the individual people and go to their attributes. I'm going to choose the squad attributes real quick. I don't want these guys aware. I want them to just be safe, not careless, because they're not going to be doing anything. They'll just be stupid and stand there and get shot. I want them to be safe, which means they're just going to not really pay attention, but if they get shot at, then they'll start paying attention. Typically, a patrol's going to walk in some sort of line, so I'm going to have them in some sort of column. I'm going to have them walk slow. No worry, just a patrol. With the two dudes selected, not the squad necessarily. As long as you have the two guys selected, you're going to shift, right-click, and that's going to create a waypoint. You can go into like the waypoint stuff over here, but this is the quickest way. So I'm going to have them walk down the road, walk over here, cross the road, kind of stop here for a second, and walk back to where they started. So now they're going to walk down the road and turn around, but I want them to continuously do this. So we're going to take this last waypoint, and we're going to change it to a cycle. Before it was a move, now we want it to cycle. As long as it's close to their starting position, they'll cycle naturally. See how I went too far and now a little line is broken? If it's pretty close, that line will reattach and now it'll close the loop. I'm going to start launching in single player so it's a little bit quicker. Just for testing purposes. So these guys right here, they're walking down the road. I'm going to use time acceleration. It's going to show, ooh, they're walking. I should have had this patrol been shorter. It's kind of cool. As long as they're safe. If they're aware or combat, they're going to, start taking cover and stuff like that as they move along. It's going to be really slow. We went to that cycle. He's going to the move. And look at that. He's going to start all over. So, perfect patrol. Alright. Two more things with waypoints. I want to show you guys... make these a little tighter just because I don't want to watch that all over again. I want to show you guys how to load a squad, an AI squad, into a vehicle, have that vehicle move down to a position, and unload the team. You know, sort of like a quick response force, or a mobilized or mechanized infantry. So let's choose green 4. Let's choose just a little sentry. We're going to keep them on combat so they move a little faster. We're going to move these dudes out of the way. They'll probably get run over by the car anyway, but it's fine. Now, what you could do is choose these motorized and mechanized pre-built selections. I find these get a little glitchy. I like to take an actual just infantry team and then just pair it up with the right vehicle. So I'm going to choose a Strider for now. Oops, that's empty. We actually want that manned for this example. And we don't want it to attach to the squad. We want it just a free vehicle. There we go. This is going to make it less glitchy as if they're not attached under the same command. So we want this infantry squad. Remember, have the 2 people selected. Right click, and that'll create the waypoint. We're going to click this waypoint, and you kind of see there's a little tiny picture of a car. We're going to hover this over that tiny picture of the car, and boom, there's a move order to the vehicle. That's not going to have them get in the vehicle. We need to change it to get in. This vehicle, we want them to recognize that they're going to load right now. So we're going to have them set to load. And we want them to wait. So we're going to right click, set activation waypoint. So we're going to connect. Remember, careful. You want to hit the alpha 140 get in. So when these guys get in, the vehicle is going to understand, hey, I've been loaded. Once they've done that, you can choose the waypoint. You don't actually have to choose the squads again. So we have the vehicle's waypoint selected, the load. We're going to have them move down here, the vehicle. And we're going to change this. It's going to be transport unload. This isn't very far, but you know, we just want to prove our point that this works. They're going to get in the vehicle. The vehicle is going to drive down the road. It's going to unload. And then, screw it. They're just going to drive back. We don't care what they do after that. Actually, we'll just have them continue down the road. This infantry squad, their first step is just get in. After get in, they're going to come over here, get unloaded, and we're just going to have them head down this hill. Even though these lines are kind of wonky, it's like, why the hell are they going this way? Really, they're going to go inside the vehicle first and then start moving. So let's see it in action. Kind of heard the guy shout. So look at these guys. They're running over to their transport. He loaded in. AI's being dumb. You can see these guys don't have a little circle, so they can't get edited. Look at that, vehicle's on its way. Should move just down the road. Probably run over a dude. They unloaded. They should start heading down the hill, and they should... Oh, look at that. Great. Good job, Strider. Well, anyway, they should start going down the hill this way, and given a few seconds, these guys will start going down the hill this way. Let's accelerate time. Nope. Oh, there he goes. Maybe. See, he's in combat now because he lost a dude. But there we go. The point was proven, even if the Strider was retarded. And he's freaking out because his buddy got ran over too. Alright. So that's very quickly how to do like some sort of motorized infantry. Have everybody load into a truck, move to an objective, unload them, and then the vehicle can take off. You can do this with players too. You can have this vehicle wait. Same trigger, have them like queued to attach here, and they'll get like a little waypoint, almost like a move marker. And once the vehicle's loaded with your player squad, the vehicle will head off to a location, and then it'll unload them, and you can have it either return to base or give you fire support. Let's do that with this helicopter, actually. So we're gonna delete this. I'll just move it to the side for now. Screw it. We're gonna add another helicopter. I want one that's already manned. Helicopter. These are drones. I'm blind. So you have this Hellcat. Let's get rid of this building too. And I'm going to have our players here. They're going to have a waypoint, which I bet you didn't know you could give players waypoints like this. You probably give them tasks. Same deal. We're going to have it go inside. See how the cursor changes? There's a little tiny helicopter symbol. And it's going to be a load order. Or a get in, sorry. Get in order. They're going to get in. The helicopter, on the other hand, I want the pilot selected. They're going to be waiting to load. And then we want to connect them. So set a waypoint activation, connect, get in. Now the helicopter is going to have an order queued up after that. We want them to, I don't know. I don't want to go too far because I don't want to waste too much time. I want somewhere kind of flat though. We'll go right here. This looks pretty viable. We're going to have them after the load order is selected. We're going to set this to transport unload again. Now helicopters in Arma are kind of finicky. The AI will not land if they don't think the ground is flat enough, or they're really wonky. What you should almost always do is go to a props here, and you're going to create a helipad. The AI is scripted to actually trust helipads a bit. They won't always trust them entirely. And we're just going to do an invisible one here, because we want to try to hide some of this stuff from our players. So there we go. He's going to go to the helipad, and he's going to transport unload. And then the helicopter, after they transport unload, I just selected them right there. We're going to just tell them to screw off. Just fly over there somewhere. I don't care. Our players, after their get in order, we're going to give them a little waypoint to, I don't know, run over there somewhere. Let's try this in single player. So the helicopter won't take off until we're loaded. That was our helicopter blowing up. Don't worry about that. See this little waypoint? That's what I was talking about. We got to get in order. It's not actually a task. Write it back. We're going to order all our dudes to get in.
Roger.
Look at that. The helicopter started warming up.
Waiting. Ready. Standing by.
Accelerate time. So that works. We're happy with that. So that's patrols. These are the different. That's what I call patrols or pathing anyway. You can have just units. These could be enemies also, like patrolling around a base, for example, or this could be enemies loading up in a vehicle and attacking a player's HQ or something like that. I was just kind of doing some proof of concepts. These three different, either units moving in like a path, along the road. Infantry loading in vehicles and unloading, helicopters taking off, taking a load of troops and unloading them on our invisible heliports and then taking off again. Next, we can talk about signals and tasks. Let's go ahead and do tasks real quick. So when you start Eden Zeus, combining them, a lot of players will just create objectives in either or. They'll create like a whole bunch of missions and objectives in Eden. That doesn't really give you a whole lot to Zeus though. I like to just create like one starting objective for Zeus, so my players are like, okay, we need to get to this town, and then I'll start creating objectives in the Zeus modules. So let's just get ourselves a rolling start. Let's get rid of this junk. Just gonna clean up a little bit. Let's get ourselves some little starting objectives to begin with. So we're going to actually start messing with some of the tasks here. So the first thing we need to do is I like to just use move tasks to get the game rolling. You know, like I'll usually put like a mini armory at the spawn zone, and I'll be like, okay, load up and start heading off toward the town, and then I'll create the the objective live over there, not in Eden. So let's create our task here. We're gonna go to it's gonna be Intel. We're gonna create a task, and we're just gonna say for the time's sake, we're gonna have them just go down the road. So we're gonna create a task. We're gonna name the variable here. We're just gonna call it task 1 to keep things kind of clean and organized. Set the owner here. We want this to be all playable units are gonna have this task. The title, we're gonna say, I don't know, move down the road. Start the op by leaving HQ. You know, some sort of description so the players can read this. Marker, we want the module to actually, you could either be disabled so they don't see the little arrow. I like to just have it on the module position. Type here, we're just going to have it be created. We're going to change this to a move marker. And I'm going to have it always visible. This way the players, this is the first thing they see is like, oh, we should move over here, you know, to start moving. Because players tend to like, you know, idle around and just play around with their inventories for too long. So we want them to move down the road. Let's clear some of this clutter. Unfortunately, Arma's kind of weird sometimes. We're going to need to kind of cheat the game and wait a couple seconds to create this objective. So we're going to go to triggers, and we're going to put a time delay on this task. Because right now the task just will never pop up. Or they won't get, you know, the pop up on their screen that says like, oh, we need to move to this HQ or whatever. We want to wait a couple seconds, let everybody get settled in, then boom, hit them with a task, and they realize they need to move. So variable name, we're going to do, I don't know, task 1 assign. We're going to leave all this crap alone. We're just going to change the condition here to true. And then we're going to set a timer here. We're going to change all these to, I don't know, we'll say 15 seconds is a good time for everybody to get adjusted before the first pop-up. And then we're going to right-click, and we're going to just sync it to the create task. So we've created the task. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to complete the task yet. So we need to tell the game that there's a way for the task to end. We're going to go back to Systems and Modules. We want to set a task state. So you want the state to succeed. Right, we want to change from created to succeeded. We're going to call this task 1 succeed. That's good enough for us. And that's literally all it's going to do. We definitely want to show notification to the players. So boom, there is a way for this state to change. But we don't have a trigger for this state to change yet. We have a trigger to create the task. And we have a way that the task can be completed by this little module. But we need another trigger here to be like, hey, you've actually finished the task here. We're just going to put the trigger, let's organize it like this a little bit. A little bit ahead of our little arrow here. So this is going to be our trigger. We're going to think of this kind of like a landmine. It's going to go off once the players get close enough. We're going to call this task 1. We'll just solve this area. Call it an area to finish it. The type here, actually no, sorry, activation is going to be any player can activate this, and it's going to be a present trigger. So as soon as they walk close to this thing, it's going to go off and trigger the state finished. And then we need to put a little radius on this, because there's no zone that it's assigned to, so we're just going to do like, I don't know, 5 meters by 5 meters. Should be good enough. Boom. So, I know I'm kind of flying through all this, but the idea here is that the players are going to start the game, 15 seconds are going to go by, there's our delay here, and then they're going to get hit with this task that says they need to leave down the road. Once they start moving down the road, they're going to bump into this little zone here that's going to issue, it should be synced, that's going to issue a success state to be given out. Let's go ahead and test that. I should probably get rid of that helicopter so it stops blowing up every time. Oh, hold on. Let's wait 15 seconds. Our task hasn't been created yet. We still have our waypoint. There we go. Boom. We got the task that I was talking about. It just got made. And look at it. There's a waypoint there. We actually want this waypoint to be assigned to the players when they start the mission. We'll go back and fix that in a second. So see how it's just kind of white? We want it to be yellowed for them. We're going to move down the road. Hey guys, we're leaving the objective. We're going to start going towards town. And then boom. They completed the task. They've started the ball rolling. And hopefully we as Zeus's in the background have gone over here and populated a town and be like, okay, now that you've left this objective, clear this minefield or, you know, clear this town of terrorists, whatever you want to do. Again, this is just to get the ball rolling. This whole video is about the bridge between Eden and Zeus working together. I don't want to create everything in Eden, nor do I want to create everything in Zeus. I like to use both tools. That helicopter I wanted to move. Wherever it went, there it is. And also I wanted to change it so this task is going to be active as soon as it should be their set task. We want it to be assigned. There we go. So that should work this time. Change this delay to 5 seconds just for testing purposes. And so now it should be assigned task instead of just that kind of plain white. It's kind of harder to read. There we go. See how it's yellow now? It's been an assigned task. So that's the difference right there. So again, that's basic tasking. You could find a billion tutorials about, you know, how to script whole missions in single player or whatever. I'm just trying to get a foundation here. All right. The last thing we're going to cover is journal entries. Typically, when you're in a mission, you'll typically see some sort of quick briefing of like, okay, here's our situation. You know, there's, you know, World War III has started. Here's the execution. You guys need to go by the numbers and do X, Y, Z. The whole mission objective is to steal some fuel. And then our signals are Bravo 1 is, you know, infantry. Bravo 2 is a helicopter. All that kind of extra little map info you kind of get. So we're going to go to our intel again. And we're going to create a diary record. You're going to want to do this in reverse order. So I'm going to start with the order that we want on the bottom of our player screen. So we're going to start with signal. So signal. We're not going to change the title here. We're going to set this again to all playable units. Be careful that you're always doing that when it comes to like objective stuff. This tends to break if you have PvP, like red versus blue. But I'm focusing on co-op missions here. So description or signal, I don't know. Bravo 1-1 is infantry. Oops. And then, damn it. This is being annoying. We want to do a line break. Bravo 1-2 is a helicopter. Let's go ahead and see that now. So we go to our map, our briefing, boom, we have a signal. Oops, our line break didn't work. I'll keep playing with that stuff later. So Bravo is helicopter, Bravo is infantry. That's just like some HTML scripting that works in here. I'm not going to mess with it, honestly, right now. It looks like a typo. But I don't really care, because this is just, you know, getting the ball rolling. Let's create another diary record. Execution next. Signals are typically really easy to understand, because it's like what team is what. Execution is typically a step-by-step process. So 1, you know, move down the road. 2. I need to put my line break in, huh? Break. Uh, Clear area. Again, you want to be more specific. I'm just kind of do another line break. Collect money. That's our execution for our team here. After execution, oops, did we set this to all playable? No, we did not. So all playable, always all playable, so they can see all this kind of stuff. This is the actual mission. So since these guys are PMCs, the mission is we, as PMCs, like money. Let's go make some money. That's their mission. Pretty simple, right? And last thing is going to be situation. This is like your world view. Think of it as like a global scale. Altus and Stratus are always at war. Boom. So then, you know, kind of spend as much time as you want. I don't think I said that's playable. Oops. So briefing, boom, we can see all our stuff now. Signal, execution, mission. And then situation would be up here, but we forgot to set the playable. This stuff's really useful, honestly. Like, a lot of people don't fill these in. It's super simple to set up, for one. And two, it helps your players once they're loading in. They're like, what exactly is the context of what we're doing here? Oh, we're PMCs. Oh, we like to make money. You know, the world's kind of on fire. There's our motivation. What is our, you know, direct action going to be? We need to move down the road, clear the area. We'll probably need to, like, collect a truck maybe with some money in it or something. You know, it kind of just gives some context to what exactly you're doing besides run down the hill, shoot guys, run up the hill, shoot guys. And they can always check their map for, you know, whatever you're doing. So, to recap everything we've gone over together, we've used the editor. I've shown you kind of, you know, how to move around on the map. You can scroll click to teleport. We've created a team. We've given them different respawns. We've chosen custom loadouts and custom gear for them. They can load with and without that, or with the exact same gear they died with now. They could spawn on vehicles that we've designated as spawns. We can change their factions, mess with pylons, drones, changed appearances of vehicles. We went to Zeus. We created an officer Zeus. We'd also decided to do a virtual Zeus with a special respawn for the virtual Zeus. Remember that? We've done a little bit of patrols, showing you how to have a patrol, you know, move around a zone. It could have been easily, that path could have been just around this building or up and down the road. Mechanized or motorized infantry, moving down roads and unloading, loading helicopters and then landing and unloading. Some basic starting tasks to get some triggers rolling. Journal entries. And that's pretty much everything at this point. When I'm done at this point of a mission, I'll typically select all the stuff I actually want to control. Like, say I have, like, you know, a bunch of civilians running around. I don't really want to control them, but I definitely want to see, you know, my CSAT dudes out in the field. At this point, I'll select the stuff I want, and then I'll sync them to the editable objects. This is pretty much one of the last steps, because you don't want all these lines, again, flying all over the place while you're in the middle of making your mission. Because it's so easy to accidentally, like, mouse over while you're deleting stuff, and just delete one of these lines when you're trying to get something else. So this would be my last step, is adding everything to the editable objects module. At this point, we go to scenario, and you want to export to multiplayer. And boom, your mission's done. Good luck, my friends. I hope you've learned a lot. I know I went through everything really quickly, but there's just so much to cover. All the stuff I've kind of just picked up from different tutorials or reading on forums, on Reddit. It really annoyed me that all this information, all these little bits of lines and codes that are really useful were kind of all over the place. So that was my whole motivation for creating this little tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck out there.